In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a voice VLAN from scratch. So the VLAN is going to live on this core switch on my network. Here's the overall network diagram. I got the core switch, and then over here I have a DHCP server on 10.0.0.5. So the phone is going to connect to this switch, and this switch is going to tell it to go over here for all of its IP address information. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start on this server right here. Click the Windows button and type in DHCP. And click on the host and right click IPv4 and then set predefined options. And we're going to add a new one. And I'll call it Cisco IPT. I will change this to IP address array, and I'm going to give it a code of 150. And what this does is when a phone goes and gets a DHCP address, it also asks for where it should go for TFTP information. So that's called option 150. So later when we create the scope, we're going to tell it what IP address to go to for option 150. So I'll call this TFTP for Cisco Call Manager. And I'll click OK. OK. And then I'm going to add a new scope. And I'll call it VLAN 40. Voice VLAN. Start IP address. I'm going to start at the lowest one, so right above the gateway, end IP address, and I'm going to put it right below the broadcast address. And I'm going to make this a /24. No, not a 31. There we go. Next. And I'm not going to put any exclusions in there. I want this to be all phones. 8 days is fine. And do I want to configure my DHCP options? Yes, I do. Okay, so a default gateway, and that is going to be the SVI on the switch. The VLAN IP address, so 10.0.40.1. 10.0.40.1. Add that, and it wants a domain. I'm going to put in a bogus one, uptime network and voice.com, and it wants DNS. So I actually have DNS running on the same server, so I'm going to put in that IP address, and then it's going to verify that services are running on it. And then I'm going to add it to the top of the list here and click next. I'm not going to worry about that. Yes, I want to activate it right now. And then I want to go into this scope and go into the scope option. So yeah, so IPv4, the new scope we created, and then scope options. And properties for once. Actually going to right click scope options and configure options. Come all the way down here to Cisco IPT, and then I'm going to put in the IP address of my call manager. So 10.0.0.10. Add and apply. And we are done on the DHCP server. So we can move over to this SSH session that I have already on the switch. So I am now SSH'd into 10.0.0.1. And I'm going to create, I'm already in global configuration mode. I'm going to create VLAN 40 just by typing VLAN 40, and I'm going to name it phones. And then I'm going to go into that interface And then I'm going to give it the IP address 10.0.40.1.255.255.255.0. No shutdown. And then I'm going to say IP helper address 10.0.0.5. Okay, so our VLAN is all set up. Our DHCP scope is set up. So now I'm going to go into the interface that we're going to connect to the phone to, which is 1048. And I'm going to say switch port mode access. Switch port for just the data VLAN, I'm going to give it VLAN 10. And then for the voice VLAN, switch port voice VLAN 40. And do a spanning tree port fast. And then I am going to show you the phone as we start. I'm going to hold down the pound key so that I can factory reset it. I'm going to say no shutdown. And then I'm going to wait for these orange lights to start flashing. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, star, 0 pound. And now it's going to go look for a DHCP address. And if I set this up correctly, it's going to find one. And look at that. It found one. So I can tell it found one because it says upgrading, and then it is finding the files that Call Manager is providing for it. I have auto registration set up on this Call Manager, so this phone is going to get an auto register DN, and it can be set up from there. So I'm gonna let this run. This can take a couple minutes. It will probably reset, and I'll unpause this video once it's back up. Okay, I think it took about 5 minutes, but it finished registering. And then also, I'm going to refresh this list. You can see that this is the phone right here, 7945, auto 7002, registered, and the IP address is in the scope of the VLAN we just created. So we successfully created a VLAN using a Cisco switch and a DHCP server. So if you need a server, you can get a lab server from Windows or from Microsoft for free. I covered that in my last video. Go ahead and watch that. If you liked this video, please hit like and subscribe. If anything was confusing, please make a comment and I will address it as best as I can. Thanks again. And the date is 11/27/2021. Michigan and Ohio State are going to play in a couple hours. Let's go blue. Snap the streak. Have a great day.